Welcome to the Conscious Publicist Podcast, a space where thoughts become ideas to advocate for a more conscious human experience in the media. Our thoughts and ideas inspire action, and the most notable leaders and organizations have transformed thoughts and ideas into global initiatives that have impacted the lives of millions. My name is Ashley Graham, and as a woman-owned business founder and publicist, I guide leaders, visionaries, and creators in discovering their conscious media voice and methodologies that inspire connection, community, and impact through aligned media channels. In this podcast, we'll dive into public relations, thought leadership, business, and entrepreneurship, all through the lens of being a conscious human being. I'll take you behind the scenes into the habits, thoughts, and modalities that have helped leaders shift past paradigms of limiting beliefs, comparison, and self-doubt to show up for themselves to become the subject matter experts they were called to be. Subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify and join us on this journey of awakening the conscious, enlightened leader within you. Welcome back for another thought-provoking episode where we're going to talk about the connection of motherhood, sobriety, entrepreneurship, and the courage to build something meaningful from authentic experience. Our guest today is Samantha Gold, the founder of Motette. Motette is a modern baby and toddler essentials brand rooted in elevated design, intentionality, and real-life functionality. Samantha's journey to launching Motette is deeply personal, rooted in her 7 years of sobriety and her own experience as a mom to two little ones just 19 months apart. What started as a simple frustration with cheesy prints and uncomfortable baby clothes has evolved into something much more powerful. A brand built entirely in public, co-created with a community of 1,500 moms who vote on everything from prints to product names. In this conversation, we talk about how Samantha transforms personal challenges into authentic brand messaging, why she chose to share her recovery journey openly on Instagram, and also how she's building genuine relationships with customers from all over the world. We also touch upon her upcoming launch of her Mommy and Me pajama line, her collaborations with sustainable like-minded brands, and the weekly Motette Mom Crush, which is a feature that celebrates and uplifts women in her community. If you've ever wondered how to build a business that truly reflects your values, how to turn vulnerability into connection, or how to create products that serve real needs rather than chasing trends, this episode is for you. Samantha's approach to entrepreneurship is grounded in faith over fear and community over competition, offering a refreshing blueprint for building conscious businesses. Grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and tune into this inspiring conversation about turning life experiences into a legacy brand. Samantha, I'm so excited to have you here on the Conscious Publicist podcast to talk all things babies, parenthood, motherhood. I'm sure we'll dive into all of it. I'm going to ask you the $1,000,000 question. What story and message are you looking to tell today through your brilliance and your wisdom?
Thanks, Ashley. I'm so excited to be here today. I think my story personally and professionally is really woven into Motette, which is a new baby and toddler brand that I just launched. And really, it was based on my own experience as a mom, being tired of cheesy prints and slogans and wanting to elevate the baby space. And so with that, I bring my entire self. And the things that I value at Motette are things I value personally, and that's connection, authenticity. I'm 7 years sober, and I bring all of that into this. And so the principles of recovery in the program in terms of faith over fear, being able to be honest and open about my past experiences and hopefully help other women through that and not wish to shut the door on that and understand that some of the things that I did in my past is not the woman I am today. And it's actually like a beautiful story and journey. And so I think there's lots of messages woven into that I hope that anyone listening to can connect with.
Oh, I love exactly where this is going already. In that message right there, it shows how multidimensional we are. And there's a way that we can alchemize those experiences to mold and transform that into whatever it is that we're creating, be it a brand, a business, or your own thought leadership message, which kind of brings you here today for the show. You talked about how your sobriety journey is woven into the brand in some way. How do you really bring that forward, not only through the purpose of the brand, but then also how to make that connection with your community that you're building through the brand itself?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just being myself, right? And not overthinking it and trusting that I will find my people and the people that don't resonate, that's okay. And accepting that and knowing that I'm not going to be all things for all people, and nor do I want to be. And so, really leaning into who I am. I just launched my business on March 14th. And going into this, I debated whether to be super open, particularly on my Instagram, which has been my primary platform for getting the message out there, whether to be super open and honest about my recovery journey. And so, a little bit more about Motette and the building of the brand. Over the last year, I built the brand in public. And so, what that looked like was me actually sharing in real time, day to day, what I was working on, what I was doing. And oftentimes that included going to an AA meeting, or that included a sobriety milestone, like celebrating 7 years in February and getting a new coin and a chip for that. And so I did end up sharing that. And I would share a photo of that chip because it's something that I'm super proud of every day. And I bring every aspect of my life, including being a mom and how I show up as a parent. And for me, it meant sharing all of that. And I think for me, it was like, I would put a little bit out there and I would maybe feel it in my gut. Oh, should I not have done that? And then the responses that I got were amazing and so beautiful. And it was strangers really reaching out and saying, hey, I really relate to that personally, or someone in my family or my friend. Thanks for sharing that. And it's really cool to see how you've turned your life around or how you're doing this and being super open and honest. And for me, I guess I shouldn't really say turn my life around because I think on the surface, pre-sobriety, right from the outside, it looked like I really had my life together. I actually had about a decade-long career in the corporate world with some leading tech companies, and I was a successful individual contributor and then a manager and a leader. And so I think on the outside, it looked like things were going really great. But on the inside, I was really struggling. And I knew that when it came to alcohol, like I didn't drink every day, I didn't drink every weekend. But when I did, I went from like 0 to 100 and I became a version of myself that I wasn't proud of. So I knew that. And I knew that in my gut and my core. Addiction, alcoholism runs in my family. It's a genetic disease. And I knew that from a young age because it was something that was talked about in my family. But I was like ignoring this elephant in the room, being myself, and this struggle that I had. And so for me, it was like facing that fear of, okay, this has to be all or nothing. And so it was like giving up alcohol completely. And that was really where I was able to start doing the deep work. And that was 7 years ago, which is wild. But yeah, I'm an open book. And so if anyone is listening and they're maybe dipping their toe in the water and have questions, feel free to reach out. I'd love to support you on your own journey.
That's the perfect looking glass into how that experience evolved as somebody who was also sober curious, depending on when this publishes. It'll be roughly about 3.5, almost 4 years. And one of the biggest eye openers for me was realizing society's image and society's look upon alcohol. And especially if you make the decision to step out of that paradigm because you know that there's something better or more fulfilling on the other side, you realize how unorthodox that is for other people around you. But as you were saying, just by sharing openly and going to support groups and support meetings, you find that there is a community that is still waiting for you on the other side of that. It just takes some time to find exactly who it is they're waiting to connect with you in that community on the other side.
Yeah, and I think community is a huge, it's my number one value. I think, again, in building the brand of Motette, but also personally. And I think what's actually incredible for anyone listening, people I think early on in sobriety or people who are thinking about going in that direction have a lot of fear around how was my friendship circle going to change? Let me tell you, recovery groups are the most open, welcoming, in my experience. I just moved to Sydney 9 months ago, Sydney, Australia, with my family. And so, one of the ways that I've been able to build immediately a group of friends who I really relate with and connect with is through going to meetings and saying, hey, I just moved here. I'm 7 years sober, and I'd love to connect with some of you after the meeting. You'd be amazed when you just put yourself out there in these types of groups, how many women in particular come up to you after the meeting and are like, yep, let's grab coffee. Here's my number. Let's connect. Would love to get to know you better. And you like cut through the surface level stuff. You go straight to tell me your deepest, darkest fears and thoughts and secrets and all the things. And so for me, that's beautiful. I love having genuine, authentic, deep friendships that are based on some of these shared experiences and also being open and honest about like the challenges, the beautiful moments, whatever we're going through in our life today is really cool. And then in terms of Motette, community is the biggest value. Like I said, I started building the brand in public a year ago, and then something beautiful really came from that where I developed what I call my inner circle, which is really just my close friends on Instagram. But I started then sharing with these moms and parents what I was working on and then getting their input. And so it was so cool. Like these women, now there's about 1,500 women who are a part of it, and anyone can join. Just send me a DM on Instagram at Shop Motette. But I started sharing what I was working on, everything from the prints that I was going to be releasing or thinking about releasing, new styles. I actually ended up renaming my company. It was like a later stage trademark issue, and I had to come up with a new name. And so I shared different options with the audience, and they truly voted on the name Motette. And the brand is truly co-created with my mom community, and that's so cool. And it's also great just from a business owner perspective and being able to get this feedback in real time, especially before I make costly decisions, right? Like inventory is the biggest cost of a product-based business. And so making a mistake there can be super costly if you're just sitting on a ton of inventory that's not resonating with your audience. And so for me, being able to actually show different prints that I'm working on and say, what's your favorite? I'm also about to launch Mommy and Me pajamas. And so that's an idea that came from the community. And it's the moms that are voting for their top picks. Those are the ones that I'm actually going to put into production. And that's all because of the Motette mom community.
As someone from both a branding and business perspective, but then also a consumer, I think you are doing that the right way. As you were talking about inventory and trying to limit the amount of overhead of product, you are specifically asking your community what they want and then giving them what they want. That is bringing that concierge tailored approach to how you're serving your community. And I feel that is the way that any brand or business should be operating right now because it's intentional and it serves a purpose. And you are making your community a part of the process. Everybody wants to feel included, especially when they're passionate about a product or passionate about a brand. The more that they feel like they are a part of it, the more that they're going to be lifelong supporters of the brand. So, chef's kiss. Great job.
Yeah. It's been so fun too, connecting with these moms individually. Like I'm having these kind of intimate conversations with these women and ones that are sharing, I haven't shared this yet, but I'm pregnant. And I'm like, that's so exciting. And do you know the gender? And even putting like reminders in my calendar of like when they're going to find out the gender so I can reach back out and share that with them. And it's just really genuine, authentic relationships. And I think for me too, as I mentioned, I live in Sydney. Before I was doing this, before I had created this community, I felt really isolated. I think entrepreneurship can feel really lonely. And then as soon as I created this mom community, I didn't feel that at all. And I think I have like a love-hate relationship with social media, but for me, it's just been beautiful from a business perspective because it really truly has allowed me to, from the other side of the world, because my brand is in the US, connect with all of these women and feel a part of something that I'm building. And that's just been really special in itself.
I love it. So I actually wanted to ask this, but I forgot it in the midst of the excitement with what you were saying. So, what exactly does Motette mean? You were saying that you were sharing ideas and concepts with the community and had them as a part of the decision making process. Tell us what Motette means and if there's a certain methodology that is woven into the brand name itself.
Yes, definitely. So, for anyone naming a business, like Every trademark is out there. And so I went through so many iterations with my trademark attorneys going back and forth about I'd come up with an idea and then they'd shut it down. And I was even doing these searches on the US patent search platform where you can see for your specific category. Mine was like 25, which was clothing. You can see what other names are out there, but it's all about how it sounds. So you might think, oh, this is going to work, but it's the sound, the pronunciation of the word is too similar to another brand and it's most likely going to be rejected. And so I was honestly getting so frustrated. And finally, my trademark attorney was like, you need to make up a word. You need to make up a word. Okay. You have to come up with something that just doesn't exist. And for me, prints and motifs, right, are a huge part of my brand. And so I really loved the name Petite Motif. And then it turns out that a few months ago, another company registered that trademark. And so I literally put into Chat GPT, come up with a made up word based off of petite motif. And Motette was one of the options that it came back with. And for me, I felt like embodied everything that I want in terms of feeling a little bit more, in my opinion, like elevated, but also having the motif aspect of it. And yeah, that's how we came up with Motette.
That's fantastic. I feel that branding is something that I always hold close to my heart. For me, I was always trying to think of different ways that I could expand off of the brand name itself to bring that essence and that energy to the naming. I've made up a business name before, but I was always incorporating language and messaging to bring the connection to why the name exists in the first place. And it spoke to the experience that I wanted to bring from the branding perspective and whatnot. So, with that said, how have you been able to expand through the brand name itself and to your messaging to speak to the experience that someone has shopping with your brand?
So with Motette, as I mentioned before, it was really born out of my own experience as a mom. And so, what I was finding after the birth of my two kids, I have a 3-year-old and a 22-month-old. So they're 19 months apart, very close in age. And again, a little bit more background. One of my initial passions in life was interior design. Like from such a young age, I was constantly redecorating my room. And so I have, again, this love for beautiful prints and motifs that you might typically see on curtains or pillows in other soft good products. But I wasn't finding that in the baby space. There were just so many characters or animals or sayings that for me, I wanted something that felt beautiful from a style perspective for children, but wasn't too over the top in terms of these occasion pieces, right? You'll find these beautiful dresses that have these gorgeous prints. They're 80, they're $100, and your daughter's going to wear them one time to maybe her birthday and never again because you don't want to mess it up because it was a such expensive piece. You don't want to get a stain on it, and they're not going to wear it to daycare. They're not going to wear it every day. And so for me, I just felt like there was this opportunity, and truly it was like how I just wanted to dress my own kids. And so it was really just leaning into that and trusting my gut that there were going to be other moms out there that this resonated with. And that's really how Motette was born, is that it is all about that elevated look and feel for kids. You want to capture your kids in these beautiful pieces, but you want them to also be in something that's super soft, gentle on their skin, eco-friendly, sustainable. And so that was like the marriage of bamboo and using that as my fabric choice combined with these elevated prints on very simple styles. And so it was going back to what do parents want? And for me, it was like, I want to make my life easier as a parent. So, for babies, I have the two-way zipper sleeper. And so that's for easy diaper changes in the middle of the night. As a mom, I bought all of these like really cute little onesies with these buttons, right? And little did I know, because I didn't have any experience yet as a mom, how annoying that was going to be in the middle of the night when you're trying to do a diaper change and it's 2 a.m. and you've gotten no sleep for God knows how many days. And you have to undo and then redo each of those buttons. Like all that I wanted was two zippers. So I didn't have to undress them completely. I could just take their feet out, change their diaper, put them back to bed, and hopefully get a little bit of sleep myself. myself. And so it was taking my experience, but also then again sharing it with the community and asking them what they wanted in terms of these very thoughtful, functional details that would make a big difference in the life of a parent. And so that is what Motette has really evolved into. And again, I continue to take the direction of moms in terms of what they want for new product launches.
The level of attention and careful selection that's gone into the making of the brand and the products itself is very intentional. And as an expecting mom myself, that completely hits all of the marks of my thought process of going into carefully curating our registry and being mindful about not only just the product itself and what goes on our baby girl, but the longevity of it as well. Because I've heard time and time again from seasoned moms who are like, we've accumulated all these clothing from our registry and gifts, and they never were able to wear them, or they were just not the best quality. And so you were just speaking my language, talking about sustainability, but then also stylish.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, bamboo is just like a huge part of that. And as I was on Fox News, which was super exciting, talking about bamboo and the sustainability principles of that fabric choice, one of the other great benefits is that if you have a child that's suffering from any skin issues like eczema, it's super gentle on sensitive skin. And so I've literally had moms like reach out to me and say, this has been life-changing for us. Like their kids would wake up in the middle of the night scratching relentlessly and wake up with these like sores, and to be able to have a fabric that doesn't irritate their skin, that's super calming, that's temperature regulating year round, right, has just been such a game changer for them. And so being able to give them that also in something that looks beautiful, for me, that's just what it's all about.
What would you say? I know that you mentioned that there's a big focus on the sustainability of the product and the actual fabric that is used. What would you say are some of the other upcoming initiatives that you're very passionate about to bring Motet as part of the conversation and the narrative?
I think for me, it's also about uplifting women is a huge part of Motet. And so an initiative that I ended up launching probably like 4 or 5 months ago now. I call it my Motette Mom Crush. So every week I feature a mom within my community and I share about the really cool things that they're doing, whether that be at home, within their career. Some of them are creators where they're sharing super openly about their journey as a parent. And so for me, that's truly, again, like at the heart of Motet. I am the opposite of a gatekeeper. And so I want to really empower other women, whether that's moms or business owners or women out there pursuing their dreams. I want to be able to share all of my experiences, and that's super like multidimensional, and be able to help other people. And so that is truly like at the heart of what we're doing. Something that we just did this week, actually. I posted a blog where I featured 5 other brands that are mom founded that I'm loving and I feel are super also intentional and are born out of a need that these moms personally felt going through their own experience as moms and parents. And so for me, like that's what it's been all about. And that's what's really been so cool is like all of the different people and the network that I'm building just from this brand of people that connect with it and relate to it, or just have even questions. Like I'll have people listen to a podcast or just DM me on Instagram being like, hey, I've been thinking about launching a product-based business. Do you have 15 minutes to jump on a call? And I like absolutely do. I'm more than happy to do that.
You hit on actually just one of these like ideas that I was like ideating before actually hopping on our recording together. And it was the power of brands coming together to create narrative pieces, to share the love for what they're doing, what they're creating, and how brands can support one another. So, the fact that you brought up how that is like an initiative that you're taking with doing these collaborative articles and highlighting community members who are supporters of Motet, I think that is one of the most smart PR and marketing strategies that you can follow, especially in the space that we're in where consumers want to see a different type of advertising or a different type of marketing. I think that there's an incredible opportunity for product based brands or just businesses in general, that the more that they can be unique in the way that they market themselves, where it's not just about sales and product pushing, it positions them even more unique from the customer's lens, but then also from brands that are wanting to partner and collaborate as well. So I loved how we were like on the same frequency there because I actually did see this vision of Motette becoming a part of a collaborative article with myself, but then with some other brands that where we all speak the same language and we're just using our creative avenues and our content in order just to show the love because everyone deserves the love.
Yeah, and I can take that one step further as well and share something that I am working on, which is a collab from a physical product perspective. And I've actually been sharing this journey again with my inner circle, getting their input. There's a founder named Charlie who founded a company called Little Kind, and it is eco-friendly dishware, so things like plates and bowls and utensils and cups, and she's actually launching some tablescapes for children. And so we are collaborating on an upcoming collection that will come out in the fall, which will be like breakfast with Motette and Little Kind, where it will be the matching PJs with the tablescape and the placemats from Little Kind. And so I've actually been sharing right now over the last couple of weeks the print ideas that we have and getting my inner circle to vote on those, and then the different colorways that we are going to be launching. So since it's going to be in the fall, it's going to be more holiday themed. And so where we're at in the process right now is the green colorway has definitely been the top performer. I think it was like 80% of the moms voted on that one. And so next step in the process is to go back to our factories and create the actual sample to then share that with the audience to make sure that they still love it when they see it in the product form. But again, that's another collab that I'm like an actual physical product collab that I'm working on that has just been so fun to be able to take that to the next level and truly partner with another female founded brand that shares those principles of sustainability and being eco-friendly, but also bringing beautiful things to the children's space. And seeing that come to life has been really special.
I can only imagine like how fun that is from the creation standpoint, but that makes it even more exciting for the customers who know that there's exclusivity in this
Yeah.
campaign or in this product collaboration. And we all want to feel like we're the ones that is getting something so unique from somebody else. And it makes it fun on both ends. That's very exciting. And I think, again, going back to what I was leading into is just the more that you can be creative in your approach to bringing a product to life, but then the more creative you can be from a marketing standpoint, it's just going to create that imprint for others to always want to be on the lookout to see what you're creating next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, like the creative process is the most fun. And I'm definitely drawn to that. And it's interesting, right? As a business owner, I wear all of the hats. So I'm finance, I'm marketing, I'm creative, I'm the designer. There has to be a balance because I am trying to run a business and I'm hopeful that this will be able to support myself and my family. I left the corporate world. I was actually the CEO of a women's clothing company called Elizabeth James the Label out of Charleston prior to this. And so I've truly poured my heart and soul and finances into this baby of mine. And so it's also that balance of making sure that I am ticking the boxes in terms of other areas of the business that need attention. I'm like way behind on QuickBooks and going through and labeling all of my expenses and reconciling all of the numbers for the month because truly like the creative side is my favorite part. As with any role for someone that's listening, you have the things that you love and you have the things that you just have to do to get the job done. And so for me, it's finding that balance.
Oi, there was actually another conversation that I had with another guest. We were talking about how being a mom in business, but then also just being an entrepreneur, you are mothering your product or mothering your business. And, your brands or your businesses become your babies. And as we know, something will always fall short, and that's okay. Like you're saying, finances or following up with QuickBooks might not be the most like luxurious, most fun part of it, but it is a part of it. But then leaning into your zone of excellence and focusing on what lights you up and giving a lot of attention to that will only be able to fuel you more to go back to the areas that might not light you up so much, but you know that they're necessary. It's an amazing balance. And what I love so much is just there's a level of care and attention that women, especially moms, and this is something that I'm sure that I'm going to learn even more as my journey forward continues. But there's just a level of care and attention and passion and intention that women in business, especially moms, can give to the multiple identities that they have and the multiple roles that they play.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a side note, but I usually wear an Apple Watch, and I ended up this week just taking it off and putting it away because there's so much pressure that I put on myself. But I also want to make sure that I am being present in other areas of my life. And when I am working, I'm giving that 100%. And then when I'm being a mom, when I'm being a wife, when I'm stepping away from work, making sure that I'm truly present with the people around me. And for me, it felt like it was like constantly going off. I could just feel messages coming through, and there's always going to be new things coming up, and everything's happening so fast, and that's great. But I have to remind myself that, like, I don't need to respond to that email within 30 minutes of it coming in. If it takes me 4 or 5 hours, when, okay, later in the night, when I put my kids down and I have 30 minutes where I can go in and just follow up with whatever came through, like, that's totally fine. And nobody is going to hold that against me. And so I think for me, I'm learning that balance too. I'm not perfect at it at all, nowhere near, but just trying to also make sure that I'm being present with those around me and showing up. These are the most special times with my kids, right? They're so young and I'm never going to get this time back with them. And so, yes, it's amazing to be this like role model, or wanting to be this role model for them, of someone that goes out and chases their dreams, but then also being able to still be present with them in the moment when we're just being silly and goofing around.
I can only imagine just how like special that is to show them what's possible for themselves through just what you're creating and what you're doing. I think that is amongst millions of others, like one of the most beautiful things that you could do for your children is to set a good example and show them what they can achieve through through example.
Yeah, I actually, with both of my kids, I had a diary of their first year that I kept. And so this is something that was such a fun idea for anyone listening. Someone gifted it to me, and I remember thinking before I got started that, oh, this is something that, like, another thing on my plate, right? To write in this every day. And the person was like, don't put pressure on yourself. Like, you don't need to do it every day. You could do it every few days. It could be like a few sentences, but it ended up being really special. And I got like a little photo printer too, where I was like capturing shots of them. And every few weeks, I'd print out some photos and add it to the dates where I had made the entry in their diary. But it wasn't like it evolved. Like at first, it was like, oh, you smiled for the first time today. And then it became almost like my own diary. And honestly, at the time with my daughter Blair, I was still working for somebody else, right? And so I was sharing about mom feels so drawn towards building her own thing, but I'm scared. And I'm not happy, but I get these great benefits. And so to be able to leave that, because like it offered me wonderful flexibility with being able to be a mom. And so I was like really sharing all of my like thoughts and feelings. And then with my son, I had left my business and I was working on something else and building Motette. And so that like evolution from the two diaries, and for them when they get older, and I'm sure they're going to go through their own struggles, but to be able to look back on that and see like how mom coped with this and the decisions that I made, and that again, just faith over fear in terms of leaning into that courage. For me, like that's the biggest thing. I think fear can hold me back, but it's just incredible when I like set that aside and just trust kind of the universe or your higher power, whoever you believe in, that everything's going to work out as long as I like continue to do the next right thing, and just trusting that process, like beautiful things can come out of it.
It's like you can see through the thoughts that I've had in the last 24 hours. That's so beautiful. Like to me, the journaling process, especially like doing this diary that you get to give to them, they get to understand a season of your life and their lives from the beginning that they don't really understand or comprehend because they're young. And so you give them this opportunity to look back and understand a whole other dynamic and depth of their life that they wouldn't have been able to really understand or embody otherwise. There's this Becoming Mama journal that I was gifted from my neighbor, and I'm very far behind in following the pages. But I was working on it last night, journaling and talking about some of the earlier experiences with the pregnancy. And I just felt this connection that I'm like, wow, my daughter is going to understand a whole different part of me when I gift this to her, because then she knows what that journey was like from the very beginning to the end,
Yeah.
bringing her into this world and then beyond. And I'm like, how special that is. And I started to reflect and think that, wow, if there was something like that existed in the 90s when I was brought into the world, it creates a different anchor part of your story that then you can take along with you to be a part of your journey and then apply it in whatever ways that you can alchemize that understanding of yourself or your loved ones, in this case, your mom, and that connection.
Definitely. And I think it's also beautiful how my relationship with my own mom has evolved through this process and through really launching Motette. My mom, and yeah, we're all a product of our own experiences. And my mom is someone who stays the course, I think is definitely risk averse. And whereas my dad, he passed away, unfortunately, but he was an entrepreneur. And my mom always worked in corporate America. And she was one of those people that was like, you have this great corporate job. Why would you leave that? You have great benefits, you have flexibility. Don't take that for granted. And she was that person in my ear that was like, I don't know. I don't think you should do this. And that's hard. Like for me, she's the person in my life that I always want that sense of approval from. And so honestly, like this has been also been a journey of being able to put that aside and realize that maybe like even she, of course my mom has the best intentions for me, but maybe she's not the best giving me the best advice because for her decisions are all fear-based as well. And so I really had to put that aside and realize, no, this is what I want. Like these are truly my own dreams, and I can't let someone else's fear stop me from pursuing them. And I'm sure there'll be times in my life with my own kids, right, where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't make that decision, but I have to let them make that decision because it's not my life. And whatever happens with Motette, whether it's a huge success or not, like it has been an incredible experience and I've learned so much. And I'm sure if it doesn't work out, it will lead to something even better, right, on the other side, and just trusting that.
I just think that just sets a whole different foundation for how our belief systems are created. Like you were saying, there's a different paradigm between the belief systems with your mom and then you. And we do the best that we can in hopes to bring those positive belief systems to our children, or at least, again, in my case, it's a goal, it's a plan, it's an initiative, it's a desire. Real implementation will have to come later, and I'm sure it'll evolve and change as it is supposed to naturally. But it's like we build these core foundations and this core belief system that we want to instill in our kids. But as you said, just recognizing too that there still is going to be differences in what your kids feel is something that they believe in and want to take on. And you're just like, oh, maybe you should be a little bit more safe in that decision. It just makes it part of the natural growth process. And there's always going to be different paradigms on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, it was my stepdad too when I told him that when I told my parents that I'd quit my job and I was going all in on this, and he was like, that's amazing. You were meant to have your own business. I'm so proud of you. And my mom started to say something, and he was like, just tell her you're proud of her. I was like, oh, yes, that's what I needed. And it's funny, my stepdad, his name is actually Sam as well, and we have the same birthday. So we're both Aries. I think we're cut from the same cloth. So oftentimes we are very aligned in our thinking. It's nice to have him backing me up on certain things, that's for sure.
Moms, I feel that they have the best intentions. They want the best for their children, and it definitely comes from a place of love and protection. But sometimes we're like, we just need the encouragement. We just need you to say, yes, go for it. And then whatever happens, you'll figure it out later on.
Exactly. I think you need those people in your life. And my husband, to his credit, is absolutely that person as well. And I would not be able to do this without having a supportive partner, especially doing this from Australia and launching a US business. It was 6 a.m. when we hopped on this call now. My kids are both awake, and so he's downstairs getting them fed and ready for the day. And for me, that's been critical to have him alongside and my constant cheerleader. Sometimes you want to burn the whole thing down. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Other times I'm like, this is amazing. It's going to take off. I can't wait. He deals with that too. Not to mention being a woman and all of the hormones that affects us on our emotional state on a daily basis, and being able to just remind ourselves that this too shall pass, whatever we're feeling, and just stay the course, take the baby steps, trust the process, and things will work out.
I know all of that so well. Currently experiencing it myself,
Yes.
especially the wanting to burn it all down phase. Entrepreneurship and business is multidimensional, but so is being a woman and going through pregnancy and becoming a mom. And when you have the good days, they feel like the best days. And you're like, wow, I cannot believe that I've built this, that I'm living this, that this is my reality, this is my experience. But the pendulum will always swing the other direction. And then you'll be met with these other moments where you're just like, wow, do I really have the strength and the resilience and the drive within me to go through the other moments of the process where you feel stuck and stagnant and think that nothing's moving forward, but it's just a part of the process. And the more that you can become balanced with those two realities, I think that's what makes an incredible leader, an incredible entrepreneur. But the fact that women can hold all of that and then hold roles, being a mother and a wife, I have so much respect and admiration for any woman who can hold and be it all. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is fantastic. And for me, it's about there's a lot of tools that I have in place to manage it all and staying organized, and also like having a plan and breaking it down. Like I'm very intentional on a daily basis about what I want to get done that day or that week, and having goals in mind, because I think sometimes it can feel really overwhelming and daunting of like, how are we going to get from A to B? But I think if you're able to break it down into small tasks and also be okay with not having all of the answers right now, like going into launching this business, I did not have all the answers by any means. I had never done this before, and being okay with that, and also being okay with asking for help. There's so many resources out there, like Entreprenista being one of them, where you're able to connect with other women and also go to these communities and ask for help, whether that's from a PR perspective or marketing. Or for me, it was recently like what review app on Shopify should I get, and getting different insights from other product-based business owners, because it's okay not to have all the answers. And there's people that have paved the way for you and also made these mistakes. So learn from their mistakes and fail quickly to be able to get to the answers faster.
We can talk probably for a whole other hour about the layers of going through business, understanding what you need to do in certain moments, finding the right tools and the right platforms, the right solutions to everyday problems. It's a whole novel of a conversation. But putting the focus back on Motette and what's coming, because I always love to end these conversations to entice everybody that's listening to be on the lookout and one something to crave at the end of the conversation. You had mentioned that you were coming out with mommy and me outfits, which I am like, oh, I can't wait to see that because I just keep visualizing me being a expecting girl mama. I cannot wait to have those little moments that are just like for me and her, or the
Yeah.
little things that are just for me and her, and that we can cherish and honor with one another. So I know that's coming up. I'd love to hear more about that. But if there are any other like additional, I know we've talked a lot about initiatives and campaigns and creative projects that are in the works, but I guess just fill us in if there's anything else that we've missed in the conversation.
Yeah. So I would say the mommy and me is a big focus, and also really like perfectly coordinated sibling sets. And so I'm not all about like matching girl and boy styles. For me, I lean more towards like feminine prints and more masculine, timeless classic prints like gingham or checkered or stripes or some variation of that. But I love, especially having a daughter and a son, for them to be coordinated versus matching. And so that's coordinating in terms of the color palettes that are used in each of the prints while staying true to very feminine and masculine styles. And so you'll see that too alongside the mommy and me matching pieces because also, I think there are boy moms out there that want to match with their sons, right? And we can't forget about them. And so you'll see that coming out in the styles. Something that I love that I think is just like a fun story is I was trying on the samples that came back from the factory, and I have pretty long legs and a shorter torso. And so I was like, you know what? I should get a friend to come over and try these on just to see how they fit her. I think she's a more kind of standard body type. And I realized when she was trying them on, she hiked them up a little bit. And I'm like, I do that too. So I'm like, do all moms, women, do we hike our pajama bottoms up a little bit versus wearing them lower on our waist? So I literally just did a poll, like asking the moms, because that was going to impact the length of the shorts or the length of the pants. And it turns out 80% of women do hike their pajama bottoms up a bit. And so that was amazing insight that I'm then able to put into my fit corrections, right? When I send that back to the factory of, hey, we need to add an inch because I want them to be the right length depending on where they're sitting on the hip, right? And so that's just an example of the community and me getting feedback from them to be able to actually put that into the fit of these mommy and me PJs that are coming out in the next couple of months.
Again, I'm just over here thinking about if there's any way that a brand, product-based brand, the ethos and the way that they connect with their audience or their customers, if there's one way to do it, you are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Because again, like you're putting this level of attention and understanding and acknowledgement that there are different body types and there's different ways that certain garments or certain fits will fit on moms, and especially those who are giving birth or through postpartum, your body changes. I can only assume every day as you're getting back on quote unquote track. And so
Yeah.
the level of recognition that you have for different body types and again, how different things wear on different women, I think that's incredible. And knowing that you're bringing this level of tailoring to the way that you're working with the factory on these items. It's incredible. You're doing such a good job. And I can't wait, like craving to try those sets when they come out.
Yes, as soon as they come out, I will be gifting you a piece. So I cannot wait. What is your due date again?
August 7th.
August 7th. All right, it's coming up.
Yes, it is. Samantha, this has been such an incredible conversation. I wanted to again send a whole heart gratitude and love for you being here and wanting to share your message. And I know that those listening are going to take something out of it. And that's really the main goal in these conversations is to learn more about the unique process of women in business, leaders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and how they do things differently with their brands. And you're creating something that's a legacy brand. And so I hope Motette is here to stay for the long term because it's well deserved.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been such an honor being here today. And thank you for creating the space to allow me to have this conversation and share with you some of the behind the scenes of, I guess, me personally as a founder, but also the building of Motette. And I sure hope it's here to stay. And I hope that anyone listening this resonated with. And if there's something that you've been toying around with, potentially doing yourself, just start and see what happens because you're never going to regret that. You're going to regret not starting. And so take that leap of faith that you have some unique offering that if you want it out there, I'm sure there's other people that do too. And courage over fear is definitely the message that I want to leave with listeners.